What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
What's up, Fantasy Points? This is the DFS cage match for week 8. On this show, every single week, myself and Jake Tribby and a rotating guest draft teams against each other on DraftKings. We have to stay within the salary cap. It is a snake draft. All the usual constraints on DraftKings apply. And we're going to be playing for charity. We'll go over those charities in a minute. But first, want to introduce our guest, Megan Schaup of the Fanspeak Network. Megan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I joined you guys last year, so we're running it back. I can't remember. I think my team was awful last year, so running it back. Excited. Hopefully, going to do a better performance this week. And thank you so much for having me. Yeah,
appreciate you coming on, Jake. Love the hat. Looking good. Still trying. I mean, the trick didn't work last week. You didn't pull off the W by impersonating me, but maybe. I mean, I don't win every week, so maybe you just need another week to get in here. How are you feeling about your odds this week?
Yeah, always feeling great about my odds, no matter how bad they actually are. I always feel so good coming into the cage, Neil.
Good. I'm glad to hear that you remain a DFS stoic. You're not losing your confidence here. You're just going to keep soldiering through. As I said, we are going to be drafting teams. But first, we always like to go over last week's teams. And we'll start with Jake going first. Jake, you came in third, 124 fantasy points last week. Some flames in here, but a lot of snowflakes on this team. How do you feel about your performance? Was it you? Was it the players? What went wrong here?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but I think I need to blame Mother Nature a little bit here. Caleb Williams played in pretty rough weather. Not something we were considering on a Wednesday. Jalen Waddle played in really rough weather. Yeah. Obviously, the Miami offense just got absolutely nothing going there. My other gripe with this team, Troy Franklin had 27 expected fantasy points, finished with just 12. That had he matched his expectation, that wouldn't have won me the contest, but it certainly would have put me within spitting distance. Rest of the team I feel pretty good about. I mean, Rashee Rice was a great play. When the cards flipped over on Sunday, he was close to 50% owned in pretty much every contest I was playing. Josh Jacobs, I was a little disappointed in him still being a game time decision come Sunday. Yeah. I really didn't expect, when a guy pops up with an illness on Wednesday, even if it is like a bad flu, you generally don't see that linger too much. So yeah, this was a pretty disappointing lineup, and it shows the dangers of setting your team on a Wednesday.
It is not recommended for most people, I think, to set your team on a Wednesday. So, we have to do it because we're drafting here, but I don't think this is the best approach to DFS in general to make your team on Wednesdays. Now, Meg, you have not gotten a chance to look at this lineup yet. This is the lineup drafted by Jacob Sanderson, and of course, some things went really right for him. Justin Herbert did really well. Didn't get the right stack with Justin Herbert. He chose Quentin Johnston, didn't get Oronde Gadsden or Keenan Allen, but he got the Quinshad Judkins big game. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, a big disappointment. What do you think of this lineup? Did you draft well and things just didn't go as planned, or was this just a bad lineup from the start?
Well, obviously, you went with the good chalk with Judkins. I love that. I made the same JCM mistake. I was all over that. Pretty much a lock button for me last week with Judkins. So I did the exact same thing. Can't hate that. And, he had a big old game stack then with Herbert, and then bringing it back with Pittman and Warren. I think that's fun. Obviously, it was JT that had the 3 hat trick touchdowns, but no, I think this is lined up to sharp. The other mistake that I made as well was Odunze. I was on Odunze as well. Didn't pan out for me either. So I was kind of in lockstep with him on JCM and Odunze. I wish I was in lockstep on Herbert last week. I was not. So I think that was sharp. They had the Herbert stack, like you said, just didn't get the Gadsden and or Keenan Allen, correct stacking partner, but fun that he got Pittman and Warren coming back there. And then Ramondre, I think, was, a sharp play as well, filling out the flex spot. So I think it's a sharp lineup. Some went its way and some did not.
Yeah, honestly, I start my Sunday Night Football show when the games are still going on, and I saw how close Jacob was to me, and I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to win this. I don't know what went wrong for him, but his team apparently just fell flat toward the end there. My team also we lost Jaden Daniels in game. I had drafted Deebo Samuel, did not have any great replacements for Deebo Samuel, so I put in Xavier Worthy. That didn't really go so well, but kind of got carried to the finish line by Chris Olave finally breaking out. That the Scott Barrett special, just chase those expected fantasy points. I chased them with Chris Olave. That finally worked out. CeeDee Lamb, of course, just put up kind of what he was expected. Javonte did really well. But then what really set me apart was 25 fantasy points out of the Cleveland Browns defense. So I'll take that anytime I can just gap the field on the defense there. Ultimately felt okay about how I played. I stacked up the Washington Dallas game, which didn't really help me all that much with Jaden Daniels subpar game. Obviously got hurt. Javonte fairly good here. 22 fantasy points to 6,700. So can't complain about that. But like Genty was pretty terrible. I also, with my very first pick, I think I might have taken Debo with my first pick, if I'm remembering right, which I immediately knew as soon as Jake took Rashee Rice was the correct first pick. I screwed that up. Just didn't think to do Rashee Rice with the first pick there. So honestly, don't think that I had my best draft here. It just worked out that I barely edged out Jacob, and the Browns defense really came to play. So grateful for the Browns getting it done in terrible weather last week. But let's get into this week. Again, we play for Charities every week. Of course, last week I played for Charity Water. This is the organization that Drew Dinkmeyer supports, getting clean drinking water to people across the world. I think it's a great organization. Of course, when I win, I have to pick a new charity. So this week I decided to toss Jake Tribby a bone. I think I could kind of change up his luck a little bit, maybe get him out of his funk. I am going to be playing for Friends of North Augusta Animals, local to Jake. Jake plays for them every week, and it has been cursed to not be able to win for them. So I think if two of us play for them, maybe we can break Jake out of his curse. Jake, how do you feel about me playing for Friends of North Augusta? Does it? Are you glad that I'm playing for them? That maybe I can break you out of your funk, or do you think you're just going to get deeper into the funk if I win for them before you do?
Yeah, I mean, this is I'm totally blindsided by this. I was told of nothing about this before the show. Yeah, this is incredible. I am a bit worried that if Neil wins for them, I'm gonna want to keep going. Like I don't want to stop until I win them $100. So that would be my main concern, is that this could just be an even bigger embarrassment. And on the very slim chance that they do have an employee that watches this show, I would look even worse in their eyes if you end up winning them $100 before I do.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I figure there's a lot of different ways that this could go, but something needs to happen for you to break out of your DFS cage match funk. So I'm giving you a chance here to start breaking out of it. Meg, you are playing for Pancreatic Cancer Research, pancan.org. Do you want to tell us about this organization a little bit?
Yeah, my aunt had passed away 15 years ago to pancreatic cancer. We've done the Purple Stride. My family's done the Purple Stride walk in her memory. So I thought this was an appropriate, I want to say November, it actually is pancreatic cancer month. So we're almost there, and just thought that would be an appropriate charity to play for.
Very cool. Yeah, nice organization to choose there. And whoever wins here, Fantasy Points is going to be sending $100 to the winner's charity of choice here. All right, let's get into the draft now. Meg, I told you that you get your choice. You said you want to go first. That's correct?
That is correct. I will go first. Okay,
and then it'll be Jake after Meg, and then myself, the third pick here, and fourth, and we'll go back and forth. Yeah, Mike views it as physiological attack on Jake. No, not at all. I'm trying to help him out. I'm trying to help a guy out.
Mike Robb was trolling you during Best Ball Jeopardy. Neil, how do you feel about him coming to get you now?
We're happy for the viewership. Mike Robb has not stopped trolling me. He was pretty upset when I beat Steve in Best Ball Jeopardy, which was shocking, to be honest. Steve way better than me. I just happened to get on a roll with
hey, Steve came up against you. I thought it was good to see Mike Robb in chat.
Meg, so you want the first pick. Have you given any thought to who you want with the first pick yet?
Yes. So, I've been playing DFS since the early days. And I remember I always used to watch Al Smizzle, and he'd talk about the Team Jammerman. And that back in the day, back in however long ago that was Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson and those guys that just, you had to make it work. And so Team Jammin' for me starts with Bijan Robinson. We always know to attack the Miami run defense every week. Obviously, that worked for Quinshon Judkins last week. And now we have one of the best running backs in the league going up against the Miami run defense. So Bijan Robinson, for me, you have to pay up for it, but I think it's a Team Jammin' with starting with Bijan.
Tough to argue with Bijan there. Against Miami, just teams have been crushing Miami all year, and now you get an elite running back against Miami.
Right.
Feels like it could be a 40-point kind of game for him. Be disappointing, I think, if he scores under 25 against Miami.
Exactly.
And one of like the biggest obstacle I think for Bijan is they like to get Algier touches. Now Algier popped up on the injury report today, so like
okay, I didn't even see that yet. Okay,
that final obstacle for Bijan Robinson. Yeah, tough to argue with that. Jake, have you figured out who you want with your second pick yet?
Yeah. So my general thought here is that, obviously we have the big three at running back between Bijan, Christian McCaffrey, and Jonathan Taylor. I think it's going to be really, really hard to fit two of them in an individual lineup. I mean, especially given the way value's looking right now. So I'm actually going to pivot from running back. I'm going to go wide receiver here with Zay Flowers. This is like just the ultimate buy low on Baltimore with Lamar Jackson coming back. Derrick Henry's only priced at $6K. He's at his cheapest price point in 6 years. Lamar Jackson is $6,800. He's at his cheapest price point in 5 years. I haven't checked Zay Flowers' historical pricing, but $5,400 for a wide receiver who, generally in these shootouts pushes for 8-10 targets and is obviously very explosive with the ball in his hand. Feels really good here.
Yeah, Zay Flowers. I mean, they're priced as though they don't have Lamar, and with Lamar back, he was just absolutely crushing fantasy. So that does make sense to me. I think you make a good point that it's gonna be tough to fit in two of those top three running backs. So maybe a spot where we can wait a little bit rather than just attacking the best running backs. And I do think Bijan was the best of the three. Like if I was going to go to one, I'll take the cheapest against Miami. I think I am actually going to start with a running back a little bit cheaper. Breece Hall is questionable as of right now. I'm not that concerned about it yet, though. And going against Cincinnati, that's just another one of those matchups that I'm always taking running backs against Cincinnati. So even with the Q tag, I'm going to risk taking a questionable player with my first pick 2 weeks in a row, and I could potentially lose him. Could also be traded at some point. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from Breece Hall going forward, but love the matchup with Cincinnati. And I think if he does play, if he's fully healthy, should just absolutely smash that price tag. I don't see any other wide receivers who are like clear to me the best choice. I think tight end is pretty deep. So I actually think I'm going to be going back to another running back here, another value running back, and that is Rachaad White. We already got news that Bucky Irving is out. Now, we just saw Rachaad have a pretty bad outing on Monday night, but 6,400, the price is still just a little bit too low for a guy who's involved as much as Rachaad White is. So I'll throw Rachaad White in as well at 6,400 and then send it back to Jake.
Yeah, Rachaad White was really the other guy I was debating between. I was thinking him or Zay Flowers. Breece Hall is a guy who's gonna project really well, but the routes haven't quite been there. And Cincinnati's actually favored by about 6 points last I looked in this game. So, that's one concern for Breece Hall. I think offensive incompetency is another pretty major concern. So I definitely view Rachaad White as like clearly a better play, but Breece Hall is obviously on the board given the matchup here. All right, let's see here. So I have Zay Flowers. I think I'm going to go with the guy who I consider to be the next best available running back who is not one of the expensive guys in Devon Achane. The volume has just been awesome. I mean, Miami has struggled to do anything offensively, but the one thing they've done pretty well is give the ball to Devon Achane. He had a terrible matchup last week and still ripped off about 6.5 yards per carry. So, he's explosive enough to overcome the tough matchup with Atlanta. And he obviously has a great receiving workload, and they should be playing from behind here. So, I don't know. Maybe you could quibble with the ceiling a little bit if you don't think the offense is going to be particularly good. I mean, especially if we get, any extended period of Quinn Ewers, I think things could be pretty tough for Miami, but the floor I think for Achane is really, really good.
Yeah, it does seem like Tua is expected to miss this week, right? So it should be Quinn Ewers this week. I do think the $7,400 price tag, I gave some thought to HN as well. Just the matchup scares me a little bit, plus the incompetent quarterback play potentially scared me off of it enough, but definitely can see the upside with HN, even in a tough matchup with Atlanta. Meg, it is back to you. You have Bijan. So you got one pay up in there. Are you going to try to do the to jam them in with two of these top running backs? Do you have a plan here?
So as I was coming back, I asked myself that very question, and I think I'm going to do it. I started the show by talking about the old team jam 'em in days with David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell types. Why not with Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, and see if I can make this work? I'm going to challenge myself here. I know Jake said we'll see if you can do it. We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to land this plane, but I'm going to try.
All right. I mean, you've got 4,500 left per player, so still plenty of value out there for you to soak up, and you get another pick here. Have you figured out another value play you might like here?
Yeah, the value play I'm going to start with is obviously, given the situation for the Bucks, I'm going to go with Cade Otton. I need at least one cheap tight end as a minimum that I'm happy with, and Cade Otton as a salary saver there at the tight end position. We saw him rack up targets Monday night, and I think they're he's just going to be more involved now with Evans back out of the lineup.
Yeah, Cade Otton. I mean, we've seen him just to be kind of a ball hog at times with Mike Evans. Who knows with Egbuka back, like with Egbuka playing, is he going to be a ball hog? Usually needs like all of the star receivers out, but we haven't really seen this exact combo much, so could become more of a ball hog again here. Jake, you have 53.20 left. 28 left per player. Back to you.
Yeah, now I'm getting a little scared that I may not end up with an elite running back. So I think I'm going to make a pick out of fear and go Christian McCaffrey here. I mean, the workload for McCaffrey has been insane. 27.7 expected fantasy points per game. In fantasy points data history, that goes back to 2021. The next best full season workload was 2021. Derrick Henry, he was at 21.8 expected fantasy points per game. So McCaffrey's workload is about 25% better than the next best workload we've seen in the last half decade. Plus getting George Kittle back. I mean, this was something our charters were talking about in the company chat, seemed to really improve the run blocking for San Francisco. Obviously Houston is a tougher matchup, but I mean, it just really doesn't matter when you have a guy who's seeing insane usage, is pacing for 1,000 season rushing and receiving. Yeah, workload is just so good. I mean, he could be one of the worst running backs in the league, and we'd still be pretty eager to play him at 9K given the usage here.
You know, that was my fear, was that I was going to, by passing up on one of the elites, potentially lock myself out of getting one of the top three running backs. And sure enough, Meg just, rugged me by taking one of the two and giving Jake the opportunity to completely lock me
Neil,
out.
I'm sorry. I love Neil. I didn't mean to do that.
Very, very rude to come on as our guest and just steal a second running back. No, I can figure this out. This is totally fine. I have a backup plan, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know what it is yet, but I know that I have one here somewhere. All right. Yeah, I know what I'm going to do. So I don't have one of the big spend ups at running back. I think I can make up for that by taking the spend ups now at receiver. And I'm going to take another Q tag here in Emeka Egbuka. Again, with no Mike Evans, the workload should just be awesome for Egbuka. He's only 7,000. The price is too low for the maybe the only real stud there. I know Owen Godwin was ruled out also. So yeah, he should be the last man standing as long as he is healthy enough to play, which I'm assuming since he played last week that he is going to be healthy enough to give it a go and be a full-time player again this week. So I'll start with Egbuka. And then, man, Jamar Chase, the target share for Chase has been absolutely insane. I believe he was targeted 23 times in that last game. Sauce Gardner most likely out, and only 8,100. So I don't love that he has Joe Flacco throwing him the ball, and at some point you would expect Flacco to start taking some sacks and things to go south. But when he's healthy, Jamar Chase just his number one target by far. He's only 8,100. I'll take that. And now we're all kind of fighting for some value here. Back to you, Jake. You have 47.16 left per player.
Yeah, so I will say, just regarding Neil's picks, that I think for tournaments this week, like going expensive and paying up at wide receiver is a really interesting way to just get a very different build compared to previous weeks because everyone's going to want to pay. I mean, I would venture to guess 95% of lineups will have at least one of those sort of big three expensive options. So, avoiding them wholesale and, just hoping none of them exceed like say 25 DraftKings points and that Jamar Chase breaks the slate, I think is a really interesting angle for tournaments. For this pick here, I think I'm going to go with the guy who is pretty clearly the best non-tight end value on the board in Josh Reynolds. I was looking at a few of these other cheap wide receivers. Jaden Higgins is popping in our stuff. Xavier Hutchinson is popping in our stuff. Jalen Noel popping in our stuff. Josh Reynolds is just the best option there. Pushing for a 90% route share, had 9 targets last week. There's really only 2 places it seems like New York is comfortable going with the ball when they throw. One of them is not Breece Hall. It's actually Mason Taylor and Josh Reynolds. Obviously good matchup too. They should be playing from behind. So never love drafting Josh Reynolds, but I think this is the best week all season to do so.
Yeah. Josh Reynolds, I'm hoping for my best ball back that at some point he will break out. Now Tyrod Taylor is questionable, which I think like we would prefer to have Tyrod Taylor, right? Over Justin Fields.
Yes.
I think so too. So hopefully Ty God can play here for your Josh Reynolds there. All right, Meg, it is back to you. You have 47.16 left per player.
Yeah. So I was debating which value receiver I was going at. I'm going to kind of double stack this Tampa Bay receiving situation, which I know you have Rashad White and Mbuka. I'm going to go ahead with Tez Johnson here. Get a little value with Tez Johnson. Was impressed with him on Monday night. I honestly, have only seen kind of highlights of him this season on Red Zone and stuff. But just watching Monday night, he seems to be fairly involved, getting 9 targets. So if he can do anywhere near that, I'd be happy with that at 4.3K.
For sure. Strong value there on Tez. Do you have another pick in mind?
Yes. So I'll go the other side of the Bengals receiving core and go T Higgins. I just feel like he's underpriced. I obviously love both Chase and Higgins from the Bengals this week going up against that Jets defense. So I'll go T Higgins. I just feel like he's underpriced this week.
All right. T Higgins. Wait 1 second here. Okay. Oops. Yeah, Higgins, you would expect to break out at some point. 5,600, nice price tag there, and need a little bit of salary. So that makes a lot of sense.
I like that.
Jake, it is back to you. 48.80 left per pick.
Yeah, I really like that Higgins pick from Meg. I just feel, and this is a perpetual, DFS problem for everyone, I'm sure, but I was going to keep jamming Joe Flacco and the Bengals wide receivers until they had a good game. And of course it happened off the main slate. I mean, I feel the same way about Travis Hunter, where I was just like, I was always getting to a little more Travis Hunter than the field. And then he finally has his breakout game in London.
Same.
Yeah. So very disappointing. I think Flacco and these Bengal stacks are going to be fairly popular this week. I mean, everyone knows Sauce Gardner's concussed and that outside of him, the Jets don't really have great corners. For my next pick here, this is going to be another pick a little out of fear because I'm scared that Neil might try to snipe me on this guy. I'm going to go with the $6,800 Lamar Jackson here. Want to complete my stack, get plenty of exposure to Baltimore. This is the second best game environment on the slate, as current lines suggest, behind only Dallas and Denver. So yeah, I think this is a really good spot to play Lamar Jackson. Like I said, cheapest he's been in about 5 years.
Yeah, the price tag doesn't really make sense against Chicago for Lamar. So can't really argue with that. He wasn't really somebody that I was going to consider yet, just because I usually wait on quarterbacks unless I have a stack. But yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense looking at that price tag. Maybe somebody I should have been thinking about. All right, I'm looking at some price tags here, so give me 1 second. All right. We've got some nice prices on this slate. Possible that Njoku plays. I think I am going to. lean in on no Nico Collins. I'm assuming that Dalton Schultz is healthy enough to play, although that's a little bit up in the air. I think he was clearly in pain in much of that last game, but at 3,300, I'm just going to take the chance on Dalton Schultz. Actually, let me pull up the note here. What do they say? Oh, they're just pointing out his great workload. Yeah, I have a little bit of concern, but I guess he has not popped up on the injury report yet. San Francisco totally, broken down defense there. So hopefully Houston and their offensive line can hold up a little bit better this week. So I'm going to go with Schultz, and then let's look over some options here.
You added him to my team, Neil. By the way.
Oh yeah. You don't get him. I'm not giving him to you.
That's okay. That's okay. I had a different tight end in mind, actually.
Okay.
Although Dalton Schultz is at the top of our projections in terms of value, and yeah, obviously it makes sense if we don't get Nico Collins. Christian Kirk's beat up too, right? So yeah, it's just, I mean, man, there are a couple wide receiver units in the league right now that are just total skeleton crews. Like, I mean, Neil, not to bring everything back to spring football, but I think a lot of teams could use maybe a Justin Hall, a Deion Kane, a Ty Scott right now.
You're so right. Yeah. I don't know why those guys have not been signed and put in the starting lineup yet.
I mean, I don't know about starting, but I think Ty Scott could contribute to the New York Jets, to the Houston Texans right now, to Tampa Bay right now. It's quite strange to me that some of these guys have remained unsigned, and then you see who's it? Kevin Austin, who's like the wide receiver 3 on Birmingham, played a full season with the Saints. I mean, they had a skeleton crew too, but it's just very strange to me, some of these players that have been picked up versus the ones that haven't.
No, I mean, it is true. It is kind of funny sometimes. You watch how good players are in spring football, and you're like, that guy could definitely play in the NFL. And they're never the guys that actually. I mean, Jacob Saylor's like his backup running back. Like he looked really good. He's with
the Lions now.
He's with the Lions, but he has not gotten any run with the Lions.
Well, hard to get run when they have Monty
true. Because of the team he's on. Yeah.
He's gotten a few carries though. He's I think they like him a little bit more than Craig Reynolds.
Okay. All right. My next pick, I am going to rather than trying to steal whichever tight end Jake likes, I am just gonna I'm gonna leave the tight ends and go with Cortland Sutton against Dallas. Just one of those matchups. Somebody's gonna do well, right? It's against Dallas. Like it's just such a great matchup. So I'm going there with Cortland Sutton at 6,200 in one of the best possible matchups. I now have 4,300 left per pick with a quarterback flex and defense remaining, and sending it back to Jake.
Yeah, I think I should be able to make this work. I think pretty clearly the next best player on the board, at least in terms of usage, maybe not like raw single game upside, is Chris Olave. We haven't seen Joe Mixon a few years ago, who, got back all of his expected fantasy points, had the full regression in a single game where he scored 5 touchdowns and had like 50 fantasy points. We haven't seen that from Olave, to that extreme, but the last few games, he's certainly been a lot closer to his expectation. And it's one of the best workloads in the NFL. It's comparable to like Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, full season. Of course, he plays in a worse offense, but Spencer Rattler has been playing pretty well, and this is also a fairly compelling shootout spot with Tampa Bay, I think. So certainly like Olave here. I imagine, he's just one of those guys that's going to be like 20% owned every week and is seemingly only going to get you 17 DraftKings points.
Right.
But I think for this format, perfectly fine.
Yeah. I like that pick. I took him last week. Finally, worked out fairly well. And I think that can be, I saw Debro actually texted us, a group that I'm in today, and said, welcome to Chris Olave week for those who celebrate. So I have not looked into why that is yet. I assume it's a schematic thing, like a really good schematic matchup for Chris Olave. So looks good. Meg, you have 4,600 left per pick with a quarterback, receiver, flex, and defense left, and you get to make 2 picks here. Do you know who you want?
Oh, that's why I'm struggling. So to be honest, I was struggling looking at the whole Houston Texans receiver core situation and which one might be, if Nico is ruled out with the concussion, who would be the best one to target. So I was debating that.
I literally did the exact same thing before I picked Josh Reynolds. I pulled up the Houston Texans wide receivers, and I was like, oh man, This is not good.
It doesn't
So
feel.
I ended up taking Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great. Okay, this is what I'm going to do then. I'm just going to make it work. So I'm going to stay on brand here. I'm going to do full team Jammerman. This might totally backfire. I'm going to stay on brand, and he got 3 touchdowns against this team 2 weeks ago. Do I think he's going to do it again? No, but I got to stay on brand. I'm going to go 3 running backs that are currently in the top 10 running backs in fantasy points this season. Give me Cam Scatterbo in the flex. So that's one of my picks. And then
Very on brand. I knew exactly. As soon as you said I'm going to stay on brand, I know you were going with that.
I was going to say, did you know it was going to be Scatterbo?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Robb saying I'm desperately trying to save money and get Scatterbo. That's exactly all I was thinking about. Okay, so if you know what, I think I am just going to take Joe Flacco at quarterback with Higgins, and then leave it open for receiver and tight end. Then, receiver and defense.
Yeah, Joe Flacco, 5,400, nice price tag there. Now you've got 3,200 left, so you get 1 value receiver along with the defense, but enough left to make it work.
Yes, I'm going to do that.
And then Jake, 39.33 left per pick with a tight end to flex and a defense left.
Yeah, I'm really debating between 2 tight ends here to see just sort of how much salary left I'm going to have to play with. For me right now, it's between Noah Fant, who is, the workload hasn't been ideal, or I should say great, because obviously T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are soaking up most of these targets. But with the offense looking a little more competent and with Mike Gesicki hurt, the route share has certainly been there for him. The other guy I'm thinking about here is Mark Andrews, who's certainly, I'm going to go with Mark Andrews. Needed a few seconds to think about that, but yeah, I just think this is a great spot for the Ravens. Obviously, I already have Lamar Jackson. And yeah, just overall, 70% route share, was at like 15 expected fantasy points last week. I think there's just more target upside in general for Andrews than there is for Fant. Fant's probably hard capped at 6-7 targets. Andrews could certainly get you 10 or 12 in a great game.
This is a really deep tight end week. I'm realizing, because
Mm-hmm.
Andrews is one of the guys. Fant isn't even one of the tight ends that I was like seriously considering as my tight end too. I think that there are a couple more that I really love, and of course Andrews was on the list. But yeah, Fant, seems like he could get there at some point with Gesicki out. But yeah, the workload not quite great yet. I have to think about if I want another tight end here. And
I was thinking that was I was considering doing that to be able to spend up more at quarterback receiver instead of going Scatterbo. But then I just decided, you know what, just stay on brand. But no, Fant was who I was thinking about actually.
Yeah. All right. All right. So I have 12.9 left. So I could go, I've already got Sutton. So I could go with Bo Nix here. I think I'm going to do that. I could also go with Dak Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a stack with Dak Prescott. I'm just going to go. I'm going to go with Bo Nix, elite matchup, runs a bit, and now I've got 34.50 left, and there are a lot, several different options I could put in here from Denver, including I think Troy Franklin, still my favorite. I don't know that I need to go that cheap, or Marvin Mims. Maybe I do actually. I have 34.50 left per player. Just looking through some of my options, my pay down. Okay, Franklin is 4,200, so I would still have 2,700 left at defense. Ingram's there, Mims is there. I was considering, one of the other tight end options, but I think I'm going to go with a receiver here. I'm just going to go with Troy Franklin against Dallas. Just take both of the who I consider to be the top 2 receiving options on Denver in an elite matchup against Dallas. And now I have 2,700 left for my defense. Sending it back to Jake, you have 4,100 left per player with a flex and a defense left.
Yeah, this is where things get a little bit tricky for me. I think J.K. Dobbins is a potentially great pick. Lean into the Denver rushing attack here. Dallas did look like a bit better of a run defense last week, but overall, they're still a top 6 matchup on the season. I think the volume for Jalen Waddle is going to be pretty strong. I already have Devon Achane though. I could take Derrick Henry and just go all in on the Ravens scoring a ton of points. Man, this is tough. And I'm just barely short of being able to get to Romo Dunze, who is a player that I think I'm really going to like for tournaments this week. I'm going to go with J.K. Dobbins, 5,800 against Dallas, 16 carries per game over the last month. Outside of that, isn't really doing much, averaging just 1 target per game over that span, but it's a fantastic matchup. And, they clearly prefer him to RJ Harvey if the offense is really moving the ball. And if the touchdowns don't quite go through Bo Nix, I get some decent leverage on Neal here. So, I might not be able to win, but I can beat Neal. That has been proven.
It has happened. It has happened. J.K. Dobbins, definitely somebody I was considering. I loved him last week. I feel like this week is an even better matchup. Last week it was like, I think that the Giants are a little bit of a run funnel, but they've been kind of less so over time. Whereas we know the Cowboys just can be scored on, and I think Sean Payton really loves J.K. Dobbins. So yeah, I like the J.K. Dobbins play with the leverage on Neal. Now Meg, your final 2 picks, 3,200 left per pick with a wide receiver and a defense left.
I'm really testing out this team jam 'em in thing. So I'm going to go with Marvin Mims, receiver targeting the Dallas defense, 3.9K, leaves me 2.5K for defense. Honestly, I don't love any of them, but when you punt defense, that's where you're at. I think I'm going to do, I don't know if the Giants can do this. Giants and Scatterbo can do this 2 times in a row against Philly. Probably not, but I'm going to give it a try and just punt off the Giants defense since I have Scatterbo, and do that. It was a punt defense. It's going to be ugly. So we'll go with that.
Yeah. With 400 left over now, if one of your players does surprisingly not play, then you have a little bit more to play with your 1v1 swap. So I like leaving a little salary there. All right, Jake, back to you. You get a $2,400 defense.
Yeah, so looking through our projections, Meg actually just took our highest projected defense under 2,400.
All right.
In the Giants. I'm going to go with number 2, is the New York Jets against the Bengals. I certainly believe in Joe Flacco and the weapons the Bengals have against a Jets defense that does not have Sauce Gardner, but if there's any quarterback who can just absolutely fall apart in an easy matchup, Joe Flacco would certainly be near the top of that list. So I don't mind it. We've seen the Bengals offense, I think, is just going to be all over the place with Joe Flacco under center. So certainly don't mind taking a defense against them, even if they don't have former Cincinnati Bearcat Sauce Gardner in the lineup.
Yeah. So I have 2,700 left. Looking at the projections, the top projected defense I could take is the Bengals against against Justin Fields rather. And I think I'm just going to do it, even though it does negatively correlate with my Breece Hall and they're the Bengals defense, which is just Swiss cheese. I still think I'm going to lean in on the projection, the matchup, 2,700, and hope that it is Justin Fields starting and not Tyrod Taylor, because Justin Fields, you can guarantee they're going to get some sacks, even this defense. Against Justin Fields. So I'm hoping that is the case for this one. But I do use the full salary. So if one of my players ends up being out, I don't benefit from the extra salary with the 1v1, but that's okay. Bengals, just nice matchup there with the Jets. So now all we have to do is some team reviews here. I'll do mine first since I am on the screen here. I feel okay about the team. I don't feel it is my best work ultimately. Like, it's not one that I'm coming out of it thinking like this team is guaranteed to win. Listen. I mean, I'm sort of afraid of Meg's team jam 'em in team. Frankly, I think like those 3 running backs could put up 90 fantasy points and just not need that much from everybody else. So that scares me a little bit. But I mean, come on. I've won 4 out of 7 weeks this year. I'm likely to continue that and finally win some money for friends of North Augusta. We've got Breece Hall.
It's about time.
About time. We've got Breece Hall against Cincinnati. Should absolutely crush. Put up 120 yards on the ground and then another 60 through the air. Bo Nix double stacked against Dallas. We just saw Bo Nix absolutely dominate last week. Now he gets this Dallas defense with Sutton and Franklin. At least one of them going to go off. I think this might be the first game that we see both Franklin and Sutton put up 20 plus fantasy points. Rashad White as the lead back should get more work with Mike Evans out. Agbuka should be the clear alpha there with Mike Evans out. Chase targeted 20 plus times. Schultz, maybe the lead target here with Nico Collins out. It looks good. I take it back. I feel great about this team. I guarantee victory. So does that make you happier, Tom, when I brag about the team? All right, there it is. Jake, you leave $100 left over. You've got Lamar Jackson double stacked. How are you feeling about your team?
I feel okay about my team, Neil. I will say that, I really like my running backs here. I was maybe hoping for a bit more of a balanced build when you pay up for, 2 running backs who combine for 16K of your salary. It's going to be hard to get there. And you did end up, sniping me on Rashad White a little earlier in the draft. So I wouldn't have minded, getting off HN, paying down for Rashad White, and then maybe paying up a little bit more at wide receiver or in my flex with J.K. Dobbins, who is sort of a last ditch pick. But yeah, overall feel pretty good about this team. Hard to feel amazing given my history in this contest, but I think I feel as good as a guy who doesn't win can feel.
All right. Yeah, that's good to hear that you're feeling optimistic at least. Meg, you rugged me on the elite running back situation, taking 2 of them and leaving me empty as far as the top 3 running backs go. And then you added on Cam Scadaboo, who was just your guy all summer. You were you were talking up Cam Scadaboo, and that's working out pretty damn well for you. So you're just going to keep going back to it. Why not? How do you feel about your team?
Yeah, I'm not expecting 3 touchdowns again like he gave us 2 weeks ago against Philly. But hey, if he gets in one, gets over 100 all-purpose yards or more, racks up some catches. No, I really like that. I just hope that that crazy guy can stay healthy, because I just love watching him and love him for my best ball bags. But no, I did warn you. I was like maybe going to go team jam him in, and I did. And so we're going to find out if this works or not in 2025, because it used to work in like 2014 or whatever. But we'll find out if this works in 2025 with Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Cam Scadaboo, 3 guys in the top 8, I believe, running backs total points on the season. And we'll find out if Flacco can have some magic again 2 weeks in a row. Have it with him with T. Higgins. Marvin Mims was just a cheap play against the Cowboys defense. Tez Johnson, Kate Otten, cheap plays against New Orleans. I had to save somewhere. So I did so pretty much everywhere else but the running backs and Higgins. But I honestly like how it came together, actually. So we'll see.
Yeah. It's a nice team, and you did give fair warning. You told us you're going to try to jam in the studs, and worked out. We left them for you, and you got 2 out of the 3. So why did you not consider taking all 3 of them? You didn't consider just really, going for all this. I guess because you had to leave a spot for Scadaboo. Is that it?
I had to leave a spot for Scadaboo. No, I believe Jake took McCaffrey, right?
Oh, did you take McCaffrey before you could have gotten your?
Yeah,
okay.
I got scared. I panic bought.
I see
McCaffrey after Meg got the other 2 top running backs.
I think so. I think he took McCaffrey. I don't know if I would have, because I don't know that we can get away.
You just wanted Scadaboo. Let's be honest. You had to leave a spot open for Scadaboo.
Exactly. I said staying on brand. You knew exactly what I was going to do.
Yeah.
So.
I will say that you can fit that build if you're willing to do something like double stacking Cam Ward with his 2 cheapest pass catchers. I
don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, that's where it gets really tough. You could maybe do like a Tyrod Taylor, Josh Reynolds, cheap tight end in the flex type of lineup. Or no, actually, you could not do a cheap tight end.
Yeah.
You would have the other alpha running back there. So yeah, it's I kind of want to play with that after we get off the show, just to see if it's even possible. But,
or you'd have to get comfortable with like one or 2 of those Texans receivers, and that just makes my stomach turn.
Yeah, even I just plugged all 3 of them in and added Cam Ward, and you have 36-20 remaining for 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a defense, which is tough. But you can do it. It is possible.
Okay, it is possible. I might just have to do the experiment this Sunday and see.
Yeah, try it out. I did just send you the link to this. I don't think I had sent you the link to this DraftKings contest. So I sent you that if you want to enter your lineup today before you forget, get that in. So I just sent that to you on Twitter.
Awesome, will do.
Meg, do you have anything else that you want to shout out? Anything on coming up on the FanSpeak network that people should be looking out for?
We have shows every single weekday, sometimes multiple, covering DFS, Underdog Dailies. We have an Underdog Daily show tonight at 9:30, NFL betting. We kind of cover it all, usually multiple days, times per day, every single weekday. So check us out, FanSpeak Network here on YouTube. And then we have a Substack that we're basically sending our Substack folks content pretty much every day for the same things, DFS, Underdog Dailies, NFL betting. So yeah, join us either on the YouTube or Substack streets. We'd love to see you.
And it's at Megs08DFS on Twitter is
Yes.
Meg's handle if you want to follow her there as well. And yeah, definitely go check out FanSpeak Network. They're putting on a lot of work, a lot of great content coming out at FanSpeak Network
Thank you.
all year. DFS, best ball. It's just nonstop.
Yeah, it was a fun best ball season with you in the best ball streets. And now it was fun joining you guys here in the DFS streets.
Yeah, glad you were able to join us. Jake, how about you? Anything that you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Yeah, if you want a full game by game, very overarching breakdown of the DFS slate, you can tune into Cashing Points with me, Grant Barfield, and Ryan Heath every Friday on the Fantasy Points YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Eastern. Can also check out Scott Barrett's slate breakdown article, which comes out Saturday mornings. I help him a lot with the writing. We argue back and forth in the Google Doc comments. Sometimes it's quite the battle, quite the war over some of these rankings and how these blurbs should sound, but the article always comes out great. And I know that's something that Neil and Scott talk about quite a bit when they do Outside the Box on Saturdays.
It's true. He complains about you a lot. Jake didn't let me include this guy in the article. Jake forced me to have him. Yeah. So that's how we talk about it. It's just Scott complaining about what Jake did or did not allow him to do with the article.
I've listened to the show, so I'm actually quite familiar.
Yeah, I know you are. You can watch that show on Saturday, myself and Scott Barrett here on the on Fantasy Points YouTube. That is Outside the Box Saturday afternoons at 3 Eastern, 2 Central. I'll also have, of course, my Thursday Night Football stuff tomorrow. Article out at Fantasy Points, and then of course I'll be doing 2 show breakdowns on the Flaniverse YouTube channel, first with Adam Scher in the morning, and then prior to lock, once we have inactives, I'll be talking about Vikings Charters again tomorrow night. So check me out there. Meg, appreciate you joining us once again this year. Jake, appreciate you joining as always. And then, of course, everybody watching, thank you for joining us this week. We'll be back next week for the Week 9 cage match. We'll see you then.
What? Why are you shaking your head? You're welcome.